About a month ago, I put out a tweet talking about the statistics of staples that I've seen played against me in Master Duel in 300 matches. I started a spreadsheet a while back where I was recording individual times that each of these hand traps were used against me, just to get a kind of rough estimate of the chance that you had of seeing these cards. It was mostly just a side project, just a thing to keep myself busy, but I got a little more into it, and I think because we lack the kind of tool that Hearthstone has with HS Replay, which is a phenomenal tool for figuring out the statistics of cards, their win rates, the chance you have to win when drawing them, how often they're played and all that. I really wish we had a tool like that, but for now we don't. So I thought I'd put together a more comprehensive spreadsheet that I'll develop over time. It's still not very much, but I thought I'd supply just what I have. Hopefully it can be useful to you guys for how you go about playing Master Duel. We have now, as of this video, reached 400 games total since I started recording, and there's been a few changes to my sheet. I'm still adding staples to the list as I see them, so if there's a staple on this list that is missing, then that's why. I just simply haven't seen it yet, which can be very odd for some of them, but it happens. I started recording just with the staples, but recently I started recording the individual decks I play against in various formats. I'm going to reset this every format because it's going to change over time and it needs to represent specific metagames. So during Sprite format, I played 79 matches. During that time, I played against mostly Sprite, Branded, Punk, and Runic. Coming close after that is stun variants. This can mean anything from Runic stun to any other thing, like Eldritch stun, just something that sets a bunch of floodgates. I think this is going to not be very popular next format because of all the main floodgates getting limited. After that, there is Dark Magician, always going to be something that's fairly popular. Ishizu was something that people were complaining about a lot. I didn't really see that much of it. I'm going to probably try and play more games in the following format in April with tier format because I think I did not see as much of this as other people were. So maybe that's a bit of a gap in my data, but I never really experienced this huge problem that people were claiming to have with these 60-card Ishizu FTK piles. Of course, the Ishizu stats are going to be going up with the release of Tearlament. And then after that, there's all just your general rogue bulk. Chaos is always popular, especially in the Ishizu piles. Hero is always, and Thunder Dragon and Zombies. And then just your sort of top rogue tier 2 decks. Adamancipator, Eldritch, Labyrinth, Math Mech. And then just everything else. Dino, Dragon Link, Earth Machine, Exorcister, Live Twin, Sword Soul. It goes on and on. Just going to see 1 and 1, 1, 1, 1 of a lot of these at the bottom of the barrel. I think it's going to consolidate a lot more going into next format and be a lot less variants. But I think Master Duel is in a much healthier, variety-wise state than the rest of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Formats, because you just can play whatever deck you want and see reasonable success on a ladder system. You can get to Diamond 1 playing Dark Magician if you're good enough at it, because that's just how a ladder system rewards. Let's move on to the big question of the day, which is the staples. What is my staple total looking like at the end of Sprite format? As of that, we have these results with the staples. Ash Blossom still slightly ahead of Maxi at 107, being the most common hand trap you're going to see. This is just over a quarter of the games that I played. A huge statistic. 1 in 4 games, you're getting ashed. Pretty much, I think that's a pretty sound statistic, and the same thing with Maxi. Please ban this card. I guarantee you the reason that Ash Blossom is so high, and by the way, called by down here at 54, half the chance of Ash Blossom being semi-limited, you got to bear in mind. People are maining 3 Ash, maining 3 Maxi, maining 2 called by, and all of those numbers would drop if you ban Maxi. And it's never going to stop. This number's going to probably stay exactly the same for the next however long the card is legal. Looking at the next most common offenders though, Imperm is very, very close after Called By. In fact, I think that the main reason for this is, one, it's very, very versatile into a lot of decks, especially in a best of one format, but also it's one of the cards you get from the bundle, so a lot of people have it, versus Effect Veiler. Yes, Imperm's probably better than Effect Veiler, but you don't get a free copy of Veiler like you do with Imperm. After that, you see what reassures this even more, Raigeki is very common. Despite being, I think, semi-limited, you get a free copy of this for beating the tutorial. After that, everything is pretty low, and I think these numbers, with all these varying hand traps, are so low, you don't need to play around these cards. You don't need to play around Shifter, you don't need to play around Droll, around Evenly, or Bell. You don't need to play around Lightning Storm as much as something like Imperm. You don't need to play around the Kaijus that much. 3% of games you're going to see them, 4%. You don't need to play around Nibiru. I've seen it 5 times in 400 games I've had it activated against me. You just don't need to play around these cards. So maybe that'll help you out deciding how you play in this game, because ultimately the only things you need to play around are Ash, Imperm, Called By, Maxi. Every once in a while you'll get punished by Super Poly. Every once in a while you'll get punished by Talents. The overwhelming majority of your games, 98% of your games, they just won't have that card. However, with Tier coming out, we do need to think about how things like Shifter might go up a lot more in numbers. I still don't think it's going to matter that much. But you maybe should be playing around stuff like Shifter more, because a lot more people are going to be on it. But honestly, you should be gearing your deck a lot more to beating Tier than anything else. So maybe you'll be on Shifter now, so these stats might go up. But I do have something else to give you, and that is people have been clamoring over on Twitter my Sacred Beast Sprite build, which I've been playing as a bit of a shake-up of the meta over the course of Sprite format, and I will still give it a try during the next format. I think it still can compete with Tier. You're going to be at a disadvantage, of course, but you still can beat it. So I have reached in the 72 games I played with Sacred Beast during Sprite format, a 70% win rate. This deck is very competent. It's only 4% lower than my win rate with Runic Sprite, with 97 games, with a 74% win rate. So you can do very well with this deck. You can reach Diamond 1 with this deck, and I have a lot of fun playing it, and it's a lot easier to play than stuff like Runic variants, and you get to beat your opponent with a 4k bungus. So let's just flip over to some gameplay real quick and show off how this deck plays. Alright, so we have a pretty good hand here, and our opponent is going to start with a melee. We're going to hold all our interaction here, because there is very specific stuff you need to hit against Tier, and you can shut down the turn pretty effectively if you know where to use your interruptions. So they're going to go for Rhino Heart here, and they're going to use the spell to add a select. They're going to go for Rhino and Channeling to select to get an add. We're still going to hold, we're not going to use our Ash here. They're probably going to add a Havness here, or a Shiram. You're going to go for the Havness. Alright. They'll probably send a melee here just to get a Kid Close out. Now this is where we've got to use our first interruption. The Kid Close is a card that's incredibly powerful, and you've got to get rid of this thing. You've got to make sure it does not resolve. So we're going to spend our Imperm here to make sure that this does not get to add. And also make sure they don't get to use the effect to send itself to grave. So they'll need another way to get in grave. Unfortunately, they do have Poly here. Not many builds are playing this, but a few are. It lets you go into stuff like Guardian Chimera, so it is something to think about. And they're going to hard fuse with King of the Swamp into a Rule Close. They don't get a huge amount out of this, and we can, in fact, Ash the Kid Close out. They fortunately have not hit any Ishizus yet. And they're actually just going to set, because without Kid Close resolving, they can't really do anything. And, well, we draw Pre-Rise, which lets us go straight into our Beckoning Beast, and there's not a huge amount. They need like a decent amount of interruption to stop us here at this point. Because we have Starter, we can just commit straight into Beckoning Beast on a normal summon, and we don't need to worry about losing our normal summon. Okay, and there's the Havness. We knew they had this, but we do have a Called By, so anything they send we can probably deal with. And they didn't actually hit anything. They hit a Rhino Heart, and don't think they have anything to send from hand, so they kind of do nothing here. We're going to add a Chaos Summoning Beast. We're not probably going to do anything with it, because we're going to need to commit to Sprite boards here to make sure we get over it. So we're just going to add another Beckoning Beast here to get another level 2 out and try and bait some of their interaction. We get our second normal summon with our Beckoning Beast. And we're probably just going to go straight into Zeus here, because then, after we've cleared everything, we're still not locked because we have a new starter or anything. They don't really have any way to out this Zeus line. They would need something very specific in that back row. They'd probably need Crime to negate Zeus, and it is just a Sulliek because she saw them surge. So we don't need to worry about that. They're going to send the Havness here and try and use it, but we did open the Cold Buy, so that's one less thing to worry about. Well, it's pretty simple going from here. We're going to get over the Reinhardt, which gets banished. We're going to just simply make a 4 material Zeus, because while they can use the effect of Rule Colors here to summon itself back, we can just then send it to the graveyard with Zeus a second time, which it won't revive from, and then we can just go into our full Sprite lines. Yeah, they're going to get a search here, but they've already used Havness, so they can't really get any benefit. We're probably going to make it so they can't break through this board. They're going to have 3 cards to break through what is essentially a Sprite board and a 3k body. Yeah, so they're going to add Merly in hopes of getting a mill next turn, but it's probably not going to happen, and we're just going to Zeus on res to get this negate off the field. And now we can just go for full Sprite lines, and we know they don't have anything. So we're going to go straight for blue. Blue into our Jet for another starter, which we can use to grab Carrot and the start of our opponent's next turn. I'm just going to go for the Gigantic, and there's a few options to go for here. I really like going for Cap Shell and Sacred Beast, because Cap Shell is a target for opening the Spirit Gates, and opening the Spirit Gates can revive a Dark Fiend with 0 attack and defense. I'm probably going to keep the Cap Shell here because we can use it as XC material for Djinn Buster. So we're just going to get rid of our Zeus, and then we can just bring back anything we want, probably. We've used all these effects, so it doesn't really matter. And then we can make our Djinn Buster, so once this Djinn Buster negates that melee, we're going to get to draw a card. And next turn we get to summon a Carrot, and Elf will get to summon a monster from grave to make sure we have a tribute for that Carrot. So yeah, we're going to Shotgun in the draw phase to bring out a Spell Trap negate. And 3-card hand probably isn't going to be able to play through this. And even if it does, it's probably not going to be enough to get through us and kill us, and we'll have a follow-up next turn with the Elf Search off of Sprite Blue. Yep, we're going to normal the melee, and we're going to negate it. We're going to get a draw, and we're going to get to summon Sprite Blue from grave here to get another Search. And indeed, they are just going to scoop it up there, because, yeah, we've outgrinded them. So there you go. With the Sacred Beast Engine, we didn't really go into the Hamon stuff here, but we absolutely could have, and here's the list. But for now, that's all I got. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.